We're digging deeper into Vanessa Napier's history with Lexington police as she makes her first court appearance on a murder charge.
How some search and rescue team members on a kayaking trip ended up saving a child's life along an eastern Kentucky river.
WKYT investigates what Lexington city leaders are doing to try and clean up some of the city's biggest eyesores.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
Good evening. Lexington police are on the scene of a shooting right now on the city's north side.
Police were called to a home on Greenwood Avenue across from Douglas Park about 45 minutes ago. It is a still very active scene there with several officers working the area. This is a live picture from Greenwood Avenue. Police tell us a man was shot in the leg. He was rushed to the hospital. No word yet on his condition. The shooter took off from the scene, possibly in a black car seen leaving that area right after the shooting. No one is in custody yet. We'll have the very latest on this shooting on WKYT.com and, of course, tonight on WKYT News at 11. Well, she is accused of killing her boyfriend and leading police on a chase in a stolen bucket truck. Tonight, we are learning more about the woman Lexington police say is responsible for a bizarre chain of events. 32-year-old Vanessa Napier answered to murder, robbery, and other charges in court today. Police say that they found her boyfriend stabbed to death at his home. Kristen Kennedy talked to some of the victims' neighbors. It's our top story at 6.
Still kind of strange.
People living off Athens Walnut Hill Pike still have a hard time believing officers found John Sharp dead a few doors down.
We didn't have any problems. We didn't. I mean, I occasionally would wave at him when I went by, but he just never seemed to ever bother anybody or never wanted to be bothered.
Jerry Williams says police approached him this weekend.
There were 7 police cars there, and the helicopter was flying above too. So, and the police told us that they had a missing persons and asked if I had seen the Sharp boy up there that lives there.
Investigators now believe Vanessa Napier, the same woman they arrested Friday for stealing a bucket truck and leading them on a chase across the county, killed John Sharp. They say Napier and Sharp were dating.
We pulled Napier's record. She was released from jail about a week ago after serving 60 days for charges like receiving stolen property, resisting arrest, and possession of marijuana.
In court Monday afternoon, Napier stood somber and quiet, only answering when the judge asked if she could afford an attorney.
Can you afford a lawyer? No, sir.
In Lexington, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Napier will be back in court on July 16th. The judge did not set a bond for her murder charge.
Kentucky county clerks who have stopped issuing marriage licenses are receiving some legal help. The Family Foundation announced today it has started a fund for clerks who say they can't issue marriage licenses for religious reasons. It comes after the U.S. Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. But as Victor Puente tells us, one of the clerks says he's come up with a solution.
The Casey County clerk was here at the Capitol earlier today. He was hoping to meet with Governor Steve Beshear. He said he wanted to pass along an idea that could help county clerks who refused to issue any marriage licenses since that same-sex ruling was made. Casey Davis is included in that group. He says his religious convictions prevent him from issuing same-sex marriage licenses.
I actually respect the stand that they have made. I'm just asking that they respect the stand that I'm trying to make.
He came to the Capitol the same day the Family Foundation announced it would be starting a fund to help people who might find themselves the subject of lawsuits because they refused to issue same-sex marriage licenses. Davis says those marriages were not part of the oath he took.
My oath was taken at the time where our law was recognized that it was between one man and one woman.
He had hoped to get an audience with Governor Steve Beshear today.
And I'm simply asking to be extended what Mr. Conway was extended, and that's the courtesy of a choice.
He's referring to the fact that Attorney General Jack Conway refused to appeal the ruling of a lower court that found Kentucky's gay marriage ban unconstitutional.
There is no statute that requires him to appeal every case.
Davis says he knows the ruling isn't changing, but hopes the way marriage licenses are issued will. He says if they're obtained online, county clerks such as himself won't have to be involved.
I think that we can buy marriage license online, and that relieves the 120 county clerks of this state.
There was a rally in Casey County today supporting Davis Now, Governor Beshear was in Louisville, but his staff assured him that he would find time to meet with the clerk. In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
The ACLU is suing the Rowan County clerk for refusing to issue marriage licenses.
We are getting a much needed break from the showers and storms for now, but don't expect that to last too much longer. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey joins us with an early look at the forecast. Chris?
Yeah, temperatures this afternoon responding, Sam, compared to where we've been over the past several weeks. As a matter of fact, today's actually the 10th day in a row with temperatures a little below normal across our part of the region. Still couldn't get to normal this afternoon, but feeling a whole lot better out there because it's dry. 83 Lexington, 82 degrees showing up here into Richmond. Hello, Somerset. 81 for the good folks here in Mount Sterling as well. But you throw the humidity into the mix, and certainly when you're outside, the sweat factor is going to increase. Defender has nothing going on across central and eastern Kentucky, though starting to ramp it up a little bit into western Kentucky. So even on a mainly dry day, we can't call this a completely dry day in Kentucky because we're seeing at least a couple of widely scattered thunderstorms going up to our west. Check out this line of storms now stretching from the Great Lakes into parts of the Plain States. That's a cold front. It is on the move toward Kentucky. Storms ready to blow back in for your Tuesday forecast. And that storm or that front puts the brakes on. That means heavy rains will again become a player in your forecast. We'll track the latest on the hour by hour when I come back in less than 10 minutes.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time. A couple of Wolfe County search and rescue members on a kayaking trip ended up saving a life.
The two came across a child who was in danger of being swept down a swollen river. New at 6, Sam Smith talks to one of the rescuers.
With all the recent rain, the Red River is full and fast flowing, but not fast enough to stop John May and his friends from going out.
Take advantage of the swift water and do some kayaking.
May and his friends are trained for those conditions. They're members of the Wolfe County Search and Rescue Team. The group was in the last portion of their trip before they heard cries for help.
And we looked up on the bank and we saw a family there screaming that their son had actually been taken by the river and was, in the river at that point.
They saw a boy that was around 12 years old holding on to a tree limb in the river with water up to his neck.
He appeared to have some of the beginning signs of hypothermia. He was shivering very badly. Eventually that could lead to losing your grip on the tree and, floating on downstream.
May and his friends used their training for this impromptu rescue to save the boy. They were definitely in the right place at the right time.
It's always a rewarding feeling, when you're able to help someone, and that's really what, all these teams are about, are just helping people to find themselves in a bad situation. So it was certainly nice for them to acknowledge that we had helped their child out in that very bad situation, and we were certainly happy to do so.
In Powell County, Sam Smith, WKYT.
Search and rescue workers say people should never stand closer than 10 feet to a flooded riverbank.
This fall, more than 60 Fayette County homeowners will see their property taxes go up. But it has nothing to do with the home's value. Instead, Lexington city leaders consider these properties to be eyesores. For nearly a year, our investigative team has been following the progress of the city's Vacant Home Commission and found what they consider the biggest eyesore in Lexington. Miranda Combs has more.
Not much has changed on this corner lot of Oak Hill Drive in Lexington. The house sits vacant, just like it did when we first came here in November. Only difference now, the bareness of winter has been covered by the growth of summer.
This is really one of the worst ones, in my opinion, that we have.
Jonathan Hollinger has an eye for eyesores these days. He's been hunting them down for a year.
Anybody that would have to live next to this, obviously, is not going to be happy about it.
We were with him in November.
The city spent a lot of resources in this neighborhood.
At the time, he and the Vacant Property Review Commission were trying to identify empty homes. Since November, they identified 97 properties, gave property owners a chance to appeal, and now they have a final list, to include 1126 Oak Hill Drive.
I can't be the only one.
No, you're not. There's 69.
The owner of the property agreed to talk to us.
There have been other houses in the neighborhood which have gone through a similar cycle.
He's in Alabama and has been for years.
I personally installed those things.
All the while, this Lexington land has racked up more than $16,000 in civil penalties and is worth $18,000.
He basically just doesn't agree with the way code enforcement is done. He feels like it doesn't help him to fix the property. He,
Do you agree?
in some ways, I think that we have been more than fair with this property owner.
It's just an unrealistic deadline.
We spoke by phone for close to an hour.
In my appeal letter,
The owner says the 60-day window given by the city to make repairs is not enough time.
So you're kind of at the end of your rope with it?
well, yeah, basically.
I think that this property owner's been given more than enough time. This property's been sitting like this for a very long time.
Other homes on the initial list won their appeal.
This actually used to be a vacant house. So the house is now gone. It's been demolished by a professional contractor.
The owners appealed with a plan to tear down and sell.
There's some accessory buildings that are going to come down as well.
This one surprised us last year. Boards were on the windows.
There's someone in there right now.
Now the boards are down and the meter is running.
What we learned about this property was that it's a duplex. It is now occupied, and so it obviously doesn't meet the criteria any longer.
But others stayed on the list.
This sort of shows that it can happen anywhere.
2 homes just a few doors down from each other on Lakewood Drive and Chevy Chase are on the final list. Those on the list will all pay an extra $1 for every $100 of their property value this fall. So this home, valued at $300,000, will see their property tax go up this fall by $3,000.
We haven't had any contact from the owners of this property, so I'm not sure what's causing it to be left in this state.
Hollinger took us to homes that have been given a new life.
Obviously, they've done a lot of work on it. It's gone from just the foundation to the state it's in today in just the last couple months.
A success story for Hollinger. For others, the story isn't finished.
What are your plans for this home?
Well, I can't answer that at the moment. I had hoped that the Vacant Property Review Commission would say, okay, we'll give you more than 60 days if you work with us.
Do you think this house will be here this time next year?
I certainly hope not.
Wow. And guys, there were 37 homeowners who appealed that Vacant Property Review's findings this spring. 28 of them were withdrawn from that list, so it did make a difference if they showed up.
So the commission, they're going to do a review every year?
They're going to keep doing this every year, at least for the time being, and they feel like the numbers are going to go up more as they're finding more and more. This was their first go at it, so to speak, but after that, they think it'll go back down.
We will wait and see, right? Miranda, thank you.
A Lexington police officer served, protected, and he entertained during the 4th of July weekend.
We are all in love with this. This is just great. That is Lexington Police Sergeant Jason Rotherman singing Poison's classic song, Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Lexington Police say he and some other officers were patrolling Triangle Park when someone playing guitar encouraged him to come up and sing. The other officers had told the guitar player that he actually is a big fan of 80s music. Brett Michaels of Poison later saw this video on YouTube and tweeted that the sergeant did a great job. You can see that full video at WKYT.com.